do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
Good morning, and welcome to the April the 25th edition of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and we are delighted to have you join us for today's program. Now, we would like for you to be a participant in today's show, and you can do that by calling this number, 516-453-9921. Now, you could listen to the program there, or if you have a question, just press the number 1 button and you will get in contact with the call screener. Please be sure to give your name. And if you want to make a brief, and I do mean brief statement, you may do that also and ask your question. You know, you can also Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. You can do that, and also you can do this. You can get into the chat room, as some people are joining the chat room right now. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com. You want to make sure that you click on programs. When you do that, then you'll get up to the Produce Justice Show. You click on that, and you are in the chat room right there. Hopefully you will be following the chat rules. Yes, you want to be in a codified way. Make sure you do that. I have a special announcement for the chatters that I'll do when more get online. We have a few already there. And it'll also be so that the regular callers could answer this too, but mainly the focus will be on what Mr. Fuller has to say. Announcement, Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show. That's tomorrow, April the 26th, from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m., and Mr. Fuller did tell me that, and also that it is on the website at producejustice.com. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow. That's Wednesday, April the 26th, from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. on the Carl Nelson Show. Mr. Fuller will be on there. Okay, I think that may be all I think I have to do. Thank you, Constructive Action Items. Missed you. Yes, I have an announcement that I want to make to the chatters to look up some information, and maybe I'll read some of the chats. Okay, I think that, make sure, and a lot of you are doing this, and we thank you. When Mr. Fuller is speaking, most of it is a reflection of the book that he has written. And we all know that book, but for those who don't, repeat it, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. Now, you can get that book by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And when you do that, then you are able to order the books. And so far, I understand that most, if not all, of the problems, particularly overseas, have, as far as I know, you can get the book overseas. I have people that contact me from South Africa. You can get it in the United Kingdom, I'm told, and also in Canada. So the shipping issues are being corrected or have been corrected as far as I know. All righty. With that being said, let's commence with today's programming. That is April the 25th, 2023. Okay, here we go. First of all, let me say good morning to you, Mr. Fuller. Good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Okay, you're still learning. Okay, Mr. Fuller, we have the segment. You know what the segment is, the thoughts and expressions on the mind of Neely Fuller Jr. Mr. Fuller, what is on your mind for today the 25th of April, 2023?
Well, to start with, what's on my mind is one word: murder. M-U-R-D-E-R. And from what I understand and from what I read, and looking at television, listening to the radio, the murder rate among black people is astronomical, particularly black males and younger black males killing black people. And this is being glossed over, in my opinion. Now, it's intertwined with how smart people are. So I've been thinking recently, because every now and then on this program we talk about the smartest people in the world. So I've been thinking, now black people are killing black people at an astronomical rate all over the world, and more or less enjoying it. They're black, and they enjoy killing black people. They are enjoying it. Not doing it out of necessity, for the most part, but there's some form of entertainment. The greatest form of entertainment. If you have huge numbers of black people who are actually bored, if they are not out killing black people, they don't even know what to do with themselves. They just kind of wander around bumping into things. And they become very focused when it comes to killing people that look like themselves. So recently, in the last few days, because what I'm talking about is murder now. I'm not talking about self-defense. I'm talking about murder, which is killing people unjustly. That's what murder is. Unjust killing. So I said this word murder can be considered, if you stop and think about it, creator contempt. Because when you enjoy killing somebody in the form of murder, not self-defense, but in the form of murder, willfully and deliberately killing someone, another person, that is creator contempt. When you're doing it in the form of murder, which means you're killing really not out of necessity, but out of fun. You think this is the thing you should be using your time and energy doing, that this is what you were born to do. Must have been born to do it because you're doing it. I'm not talking about self-defense now. That's killing because you're forced to do it, to try to save yourself from being murdered. But when someone is hunting you down to murder you, to kill you, or whatever reason they give that's not just, you ask a person who is doing the killing, is this a justified killing? This thing you're fixing to do. You're going to a party and you are taking a gun, which means you intend to use it, whether you use it or not. That's your basic intention when you add that to your reason for going to the quote-unquote party. Or you're going to any place where there's going to be a large number of other black people. So you're thinking in terms in the back of your mind, some of them are going to be targets for my pistol. for my revolver, for my rifle. I don't know who they are, but they're going to be targets. Why? Because I got the power of life and death. And I'm going to introduce that to them because I'm king of the neighborhood. Some of them are people I used to go to school with before I dropped out. Now, some black person somewhere right now on the planet is thinking exactly what I'm saying right now. That is their thought. They're looking at that 9mm over there with those nice shiny bullets lying over there on the bed. And after they get dressed, they're going to add that to their dress code. And at some point, you keep carrying that piece with you. You're going to use it. And most likely it's going to be the murder, commit murder. So I wrote down just something here that I'm looking at. There's some notes that I took because I was thinking about it. Murder is creator contempt. I put the creator contempt in capital letters. The two C's, PC, creator contempt. Contempt for your creator, or contempt for the creator of the person that you are going to murder. Murder is creator contempt. That's whether it's a black person doing it or a white person. If it's murder, unjust killing, willfully and deliberately, not an accident, something you intended to do, planned to do, thought, murder or forethought, or killing or forethought, had it in mind. That's what you're going to do. Or in connection with some type of malice, like robbery. Oh, yeah, you don't care anything about the person that you're going to rob. That's why you kill them. You care about what you're going to get from them. That's murder. Unjust killing. And when you do that, I'm just asking the people who got that in mind, think about what you are really doing. You have contempt. You're contesting the power of the creator of the person that you kill, or you're getting ready to kill. Any person that enacts murder is enacting a form of maximum contempt for the creator of the person murdered. You don't create people. I don't care who you are. And you say, oh, yeah, I got a lot of babies out here. You know, well, you didn't create them. You produced them. You went through the motions. You didn't know what was going to happen after this act of sexual intercourse. It might be a person that would appear as a result of that sexual intercourse. But you didn't create that person. You produced the person. A creator decides who's coming here and who's not, unless you commit abortion. And that may be considered a form of, to tell the truth. Now, as I'm thinking about it, creator contempt. Caused by you or someone who calls you to do it. And that could be the source of it. But basically, it's contempt for your creator, and certainly for the person that you murdered. Since a person cannot create anything, you can only use what's already been created. you can allow it to stay here. I mean, set it on fire or something like that in the case of things. But you can't create anything if you are in the form of a person walking the face of the earth in the year 2023. You never created nothing. Sometimes artists will say, this is one of my creations. No, you didn't create that. You made it out of something that's already here. So that's production. Now that's the accurate way and the truthful way of saying it. But a creator can make something out of nothing. And I don't think there's anybody walking the face of this planet that can say that they made something out of nothing. Because in the first place, you have to create the nothing to put the something in. And nobody has ever claimed they have done that. You arrange something that's already here. That's really what you're doing. So the point is, stop bragging about being a killer, a murderer. Because that's what you're doing. When you kill somebody, and particularly when you kill somebody and then run, you don't let anybody know who did it. Got a hood on or some type of mask, or hiding your face. That's a dead giveaway right there. That you are not in the creation department. And that you're taking something out of the universe that you can't put here. And that is creator contempt. You're showing contempt for what a lot of people call God. You're slapping God in the face and say, there, that's what I can do with one of your products. Ha, ha, ha. Take that, God. Take that slap in the face. My God, the God of the universe, the creator. That's really what you're doing. You're not getting over on anybody, but you're letting God know that you're just as powerful as God is. That's what you're actually doing when you murder and then laugh and run. You're showing you're afraid of something, too, when you run. The code says you deserve not to breathe, not one more breath, when you do something like murder. You deserve not to breathe one more breath. And that breath should be taken away from you just like you took it away from the other person. And it should be done according to the code by your own hand. That's your reward for murder. Because you're entitled to a reward, and that's it. You stop breathing yourself. I mean, like in 5 minutes or less after you have murdered. Because you're not supposed to be breathing at all. To stop the other person from breathing, you're supposed to go with them and apologize for murder. Just an opening statement. Something to think about.
Something to think about, yes, sir. Okay. April the 25th, 2023. This is the Counter Racist Code Show, also known as the CRCS, with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. There are some books that Mr. Fuller has recommended. Of course, the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. Now, he's written a book and done something about it as suggestions, how to defeat white supremacy. There are other books that have been mentioned on this show, and some of the callers have mentioned it, and Mr. Fuller has spoken about his interactions with Dr. Welsing, but in particular, the ISIS papers. You know, these are books that you may want to consider as you're reading. Also, a book by Chancellor Williams called The Destruction of the Black Civilization. Is a book that you may want to consider for your reading. And this book that I'm going to mention now, as the group and I are studying it, a book by James Allen. And before I give you the title, I just want to say this. This book could be very upsetting to a lot of people, but everything that Mr. Fuller just talked about, expressed, will clear up a lot of confusion to you or put things in perspective so that you can understand what the code book, the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept, is all about and why Mr. Fuller has done something about it in presenting suggestions. The book is called Without Sanctuary. Very, very disturbing, but it gives you a pictorial history of what has been done to us. And I'm not saying it's required reading, but if you want to know and why, that is. I saw the interview on C-SPAN, but it's also in, you can get it in, look it up, or even the crib notes about it. It is long. But you might want to consider that. And I've challenged some people in the chat room about that, Without Sanctuary. So the callers on the line, you can do that. And let's go to the callers on the line. First off the bat will be Cleo from Houston. Get ready, Cleo, as I tune you in. Okay, let's see. Okay, Cleo, you are in. Good morning, Cleo.
Good morning, everyone. Long living FJ and Feather Live Logic. My sincere appreciation and thanks, as always, to Mr. Bobby, Robert, Sharon, and Moonpie, and the entire CRCS crew. Thank you for your partnership with Mr. NFJ in this most important life work. Mr. Fuller, what should non-white people keep in mind when seeking economic empowerment in the system of white supremacy? And, Mr. Bobby, I'd like to stay on the line, please.
Yes, sir. Okay.
The economics, according to the code, is the use of time and energy. When you're born, you are engaging in instantly in an economic system. A newborn baby has an economic system because the newborn baby has two things. You come into the world equipped with two things: time and energy. So it's just a matter of how you're going to use that time and energy. And compensatory logic says, oh, well, you come into the world and you have two things. You don't have any money. You don't have anything. You just have two things as a baby. And you just took your first breath. And you got time and energy. And a baby starts using that time and energy from the instant it is born. For one thing, the baby cries out. That's how most babies come into the world. And that baby is using what? Energy. Right then. It inhales, that breath goes into the lungs, that air, and then the baby cries out. So the baby has energy. It's using energy right there. And the baby has time, because you have to have time in order to use the energy. So it's just a matter of continuing to do that as long as you can, and to be productive while you're doing it. So every person who is, every person really should be using that time and energy from the instant it is born to do what? Produce constructive results in everything that you do. CRT. That's another use of the term CRT. You say constructive results, truth. Because you can get constructive results from the use of truth. Truth is that which is.
Mm-hmm.
So you continue to do that. That's what you should do, according to the code. You're here You got time and energy. You didn't do anything to earn that time and energy. You had a 9-month ride, usually. You come to term. So in 9 areas of activity, you use all of that time and all of that energy to produce what? Constructive results. And you continue to do that every minute of every day that you are here in the known universe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's all about, your basic energy. And you can ask yourself each day, the code calls it this day. This day, you wake up in the morning, if that is the case, your circumstances, and you say, what can I do each and every minute of this day that will produce a constructive result? Otherwise, you are not using your time and energy economically. Economics is about the use of time and energy. You have time and you have energy. Not just about how much money you can accumulate. Money is a tool of economics, not an ultimate goal. You get money in order to use that money to do things that will produce constructive results or make it easier for you to produce constructive results. So that's the way that black people should look at economics. Now, under the system of white supremacy, the white supremacists have a different way of looking at economics. Okay, they enjoy killing people, and that's not producing constructive results because they just have to keep killing and keep killing and keep killing, and they enjoy it, and they teach their victims to enjoy it. We pick it right up, and we do the same thing. We're very destructive. Why? Because the white supremacists enjoy seeing their victims of racism being destructive so that they can have an excuse to destroy them. They like to engage and brag about competing with the Creator. They say, you can make everything, Creator. God, you can make everything. But I can destroy stuff that you make. And I'm going to teach all these black people how to destroy stuff that you make. And enjoy it. Not only destroy it, but enjoy it. Because that's what we do. We burn midnight oil, try to figure out a better way to do it. Got boats all up under the ocean and whatnot. We're going to kill somebody. We're going to find somebody to kill. Even if we kill each other, and we'll do a lot of that. But we're definitely going to kill a whole bunch of dark people and teach them to kill each other. Now, is that economical? Is that the correct use of time and energy? No. I think that may have answered part of the question anyway.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, Cleo. Thank you very, very much. And thank you in the chat room who have answered the call of the book that we discussed or I mentioned, which is Without Sanctuary for those who are coming in. Thank you, callmates, for your suggestion or your discussion on it. Thank you for being awake. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to wake up to a break. You are listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, and we thank you for tuning in and listening to today's program, being the 25th of April, 2023. Now, to get in contact with the show, you know the numbers. Just call this number, 516-453-9921. Make sure you press the number 1 button so that you can ask a question or give a brief, and I do mean brief, comment. Please make it brief. If you are a first-time caller, please indicate to the call screener that you are, and they will inform me, and we will give you a proper introduction. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, @gmail.com. And as usual, I cannot promise that your Gmail will be read on today's program, but it will be read. So if I don't read it today, don't worry. It will be read at some point, and I will let you know. You can also join the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com. And you want to make sure that you click on programs, and then the program you want is the Produce Justice Show. You click on that, and you are in the chat room. And got to be codified when you're in there, because the chatters are awake, and they're very, very good. I respect them very, very much. Listen, for those who just are tuning in and did not know this, Mr. Fuller, tomorrow, everybody say Wednesday. You didn't say it in the back. Wednesday, tomorrow, the 26th of April, Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. That's the Carl Nelson Show from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. And the kind people here at the station, and Mr. Fuller did inform me today that it is up on our website at producejustice.com, so you don't have to go fumbling around looking for the Carl Nelson Show. We have it here at producejustice.com. And while you're there at producejustice.com, don't forget that you can get all the books and materials that Mr. Fuller discusses right there at producejustice.com, and archives of past shows. Very good, and inform people about that. Sometimes it takes a while to get on to what Mr. Fuller is talking about, but once you embrace it and begin to learn, you'll begin to have that absence of confusion, and you're always in a state of learning. So make sure that you do that. Okay, producejustice.com. Okay, all righty. I am getting some good feedback on this. Okay, those 4 books somebody asked, Mr. Fuller's book, please make sure that you get that, please. The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. You need to get that book, have that on your coffee table and on in your bookshelves. Or, that would be, these are suggestions. I can't make you do that, and you don't have to do that, but make sure you do that. The ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing, very good book. You just got to get that. The Destruction of the Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. Yes, you may need to get that, because we're all still learning. And also this one here, Without Sanctuary by James Allen. You can get the book. You can also get the documentary, which is conducted by C-SPAN. It just open up your eyes and cut down on that confusion that we all have been taught. Okay, let's get back to the program, and let's go to Milwaukee. Corey, get ready. Get ready, Corey. Ready, set. Let me see if I can get you in here. Okay, Corey, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Greetings, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. I
yes,
remain
sir.
on the line, Mr. Bobby. Thank
yes,
you.
sir.
Mr. Fuller, the cover of the Compensatory Counter-Racist Code book that you've written, that's available at producejustice.com, the bottom line above your name says, a textbook, workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, white supremacy. Mr. Fuller, can you explain how trying to produce justice starts with the correct thought, then that thought is expressed with the correct word, and then the doing part? Can you explain how this is the only way we can change our condition from our thoughts and our words and our actions? Thank you.
All righty. Mr. Fuller?
Well, recently, since some of the calls over the years and at seminars I've attended, people felt somewhat combative, or they expressed opposition to what Neely Fuller has said about being smart. and that the white supremacists are not the smartest people on the planet. And so I take that into consideration, because I say that they are. Okay. And, but maybe what I'm saying is not true. So I'll put it within this frame of reference, rather than go back and forth about who the smartest people are, and who is smart and who's not, who's ignorant and who's not, who can solve problems and who does and who doesn't. But I'll say we do have a problem, and that's the central problem I talk about. That's what this whole program is about, I think. And that is what we call the race problem. So recently I've been thinking, what's the best way to talk about this without a lot of black people just going at each other back and forth, being combative, rather than educating ourselves toward the best approach? Well, I always say that all problems are best solved through, or they're going to be solved, through the process of questions and answers. So rather than make an announcement about who's smart and who isn't, and then getting into a long argument about it, it's best just put it in the form of a question. And I think I have. And I'll just run it past this audience, because this is the first time I think that I've expressed it like this, just in the form of a question. So here is the question that I ask the whole world. That's white and non-white people, male and female, everybody, young and old. Who are the smartest people on the planet, or in the known universe, rather? Who are the smartest people in the known universe? These smartest people, in capital letters. Who are the smartest people by name in the known universe right on this day in 2023? Who are the smartest people in the known universe? And here's the other part. Who are the smartest people? That's the first part. And why haven't they solved the race problem? And I'm putting that out there to everybody in the entire planet, on the entire planet. All the people who have considered it, all the people who haven't. But that's the question. Who are the smartest people in the known universe right now? The smartest, the very smartest. And why haven't these smartest people solved the race problem? And I'm not embellishing that question with anything added to that. That's a question mark. Who are the smartest people? It's a two-part question now. Who are the smartest people? And the second part of the question, why haven't the smartest people solved the race problem? And I just leave that hanging out there with a question mark, a big question mark behind it. Now, that's not being argumentative. That's not making an announcement of the white supremacists being the smartest people. That's raising a question. Because all problems are solved, according to logic, through the process of questions and answers. Like this program is all about questions and answers. Why? Because that's how you get constructive results, all down through the history of the universe. You raise a question, and you answer the question truthfully. And that's how all so-called progress is made. So who are the smartest people? That's the first thing you have to consider. Who are the smartest people in the known universe? Who they are. You can point them out. Put your hand on their shoulder. And why haven't these smartest people solved the race problem, the biggest problem on the planet? Dr. Christopher Edley, if I'm quoting him correctly, of Columbia University, said, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't have the exact words in front of me, the race problem is not rocket science. It's harder than rocket science. And for the average person, rocket science is pretty hard. It calls for some people who are really smart, from what I understand, from what I've been told. You can't be a lazy-brained person. You have to have a brain that really works at its maximum to be what you call a rocket scientist, a rocket scientist. That you have to do a whole lot of serious thinking. You can't be so-so. You better be A+ to be a rocket scientist. A rocket scientist. You better have a brain that really works. Well, if Dr. Christopher Edley said, yeah, if you're going to solve the race problem, it's harder than rocket science. So we talked about the smartest people now. Who are the smartest people on the planet? And why haven't they solved the race problem that has been around for some time? And let the smartest people step forward and answer that question. Now, I got my theory about who they are and why they haven't solved it. But that's my theory. But I don't want to present that, what my theory is. Because I've been doing it all the time. But I'll just be quiet, you might say, and let a lot of black people who tell me that the white supremacists are not the smartest people on the planet. And so now I'm asking, well, who are the smartest people on the planet? And why haven't they solved the race problem? And among black people, I'd add a footnote. Who are the smartest black people on the planet? And why haven't they stopped black people from killing black people? How about that? Who are the smartest black people on the planet? Everybody got their chest stuck out, talking about I'm one of the smartest. Okay, all right, step forward, and then answer the question: why haven't you, sir, ma'am, stopped black people from killing black people? Why haven't you figured that out? You're the smartest person on the planet who's black. You're proud to announce that. You've thought of everything. Have you thought of that? Why haven't you solved the problem of black people killing black people? So we'll know what to do. All of us dumb people like Neely Fuller. Because I know I don't know what to do, or I would have done it. Having suggestions about what to do is not the same thing as stopping it. Coming up with a formula that's absolute. Going to the moon is absolute. Getting back is absolute. Smart people actually do what they say needs to be done. Just saying you're smart doesn't make you smart.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to show the constructive result of what you say. If you step forward and say, I'm the smartest person out here, what's the problem? Because I can solve it. That's what smart people do, solve problems. That's why on this program, and according to compensatory code, there's no such thing as an educated person, period. Why? Because there's no person that knows everything that needs to be known. That's why. According to logic.
According to logic, yes, sir. All right, Corey. Thank you for your question, and you're online. Again, a big thank you to Carl Meets, if I said it correctly, for the information that you are sharing. Thank you. That's on the that's for the people in the chat room. Thank you for and you gave a lot of information on this so people in the chat room can look that up. This is a question for you, Mr. Fuller. Let's see, comes from, I'll just say CJ. Says this, Mr. Fuller, is it possible to stop another victim from knowingly or unknowingly collaborating with white supremacists without conflict if they are determined to do so despite the consequences? Thank you.
Well, let's see. I'm not quite, even though it was very clear what that question is, I need that question asked again.
Okay, he says this, Mr. Fuller, is it possible to stop another victim from knowingly or unknowingly collaborating with white supremacists without conflict if they are determined to do so despite the consequences?
Yes, it's possible, but it shouldn't be done because we all cooperate with the white supremacists, or we are dead, which means you have cooperated by being dead. White supremacists like seeing a lot of black people being dead. And black people help a lot of other black people to be dead. And if you are breathing and you are a victim of white supremacy, you are in their prison camp, there's no way for any black person on planet Earth to not be in the service of the system of white supremacy. It's the only government on the planet. There is no other government. According to what? According to the evidence. There's no other government. No American government or African government or Asian government or any other type of government other than the system of white supremacy. That's the world government. None other. And that's the truth. You can go to court with that one. There's no proof of any other government on planet Earth in the year 2023 other than the government called, the correct title for it is, the system of white supremacy, in capital letters. A racist government. That's the only government on the planet worthy of being called government. According to what? Evidence and compensatory logic. If there were any other government, there wouldn't be no such thing as white supremacy. So I want to know from anybody, is there a government on the planet Earth in 2023 superior to the government of white supremacy? Because I'm not aware of it. And if I become aware of it, I got to rewrite my whole book or ban it all together as not being the truth. Because everything that I'm doing on this program is saying, and I'm saying it, when it comes to people, you've got the white supremacists, you've got white people who are not white supremacists, and you've got their non-white victims. And all victims, in answer to the question, everybody classified as non-white is serving the system of white supremacy 24 hours a day. Everybody who is classified and who functions as in the category non-white, people of color, are in service to the white supremacists in answer to the question.
Correct.
But, if you're breathing, and even if you're not breathing, all of those who are buried up under the oceans, going way back, ever since the beginning of white supremacy, you're in service to the system of white supremacy, whether you know it or not. Whether you're doing it willingly or unwillingly. If you spend money, just that alone. Now, what money? Any money. If you're trading in anything that they call money, like some people don't have what we usually call like paper money and all like that, you might be trading in sheep or goats. They belong to the white supremacists. Every sheep, every goat on the planet. You say, no, I mean, the people of my village, we own it. No, you don't. You wouldn't have a village. The white supremacists allow you to breathe. They can snuff out your air. They're very skilled. They're the smartest people, in my opinion. Here we go to that smart thing again, that the planet has ever revealed in recorded history at this point. They're the smartest, and they are that being smart makes you supreme. If you are smarter than everybody else, and everybody else is coming to you for everything that they need, always which way did the white people go? That's the dark people of the world. Which way did the white people go? Oh, get some white people in here right now. We got to rescue some people or something. Hey, you're going to do anything that really is getting it done. Better look around for somebody white.
Okay. All righty. All right. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. For those of you that want to get into the chat room, go to blogtalkradio.com. When you do that, you want to make sure that you get on the programs, or it said programs, and then get on the Produce Justice show. You click on that, and then there's a button for the chat room, and you can get in there. I will have to say right now, I am very touched by what some of the chatters are saying. Some of the books that I have been mentioned, one just told me that he's had that book for over 20 years. See, this is what this program is all about, exposing. It is therapy for a lot of people, even for me as a co-host. I'm still learning, and not because Fuller said so. I'm actually still learning. It's therapy. And then I'm getting all kinds of information that I do vet to check it out. Some of it's good, and some of it, well, you just do what you have to do with it. Anyway, back to another letter. It says, Mr. Fuller, this comes from Future Being. It says, Mr. Fuller, have you written a letter to God? Mr. Fuller, do you think you should write a letter to God at this time in your life? Well, here's a letter that I wrote to God, and it has some quotes in it that you awakened me to. Dear Lord, I thank you for your blessings and rewards. I humbly ask that you grant me the reward of those you have blessed and help me achieve the best constructive result. You have the power to change my night into day and I observe and honor you. You are the only one who can grant my request. That came from Future Bean. He said what he said. Mr. Fuller, do you have a comment about that, as saying that you have helped him open up his eyes to see a lot of things that he may not have considered before?
Well, I say that my Creator talks to me, and I try to listen. And I came to the conclusion that when I am making some kind of sense, it means that I take what the Creator says to me seriously. And a lot of times, most of the time, I think I'm ignoring my Creator and going on my own, and that's when I make. And how do I know when I'm doing that? It's when I'm making mistakes, and I make a lot of mistakes. So I'm kind of an unruly child when it comes to that, of my Creator, and I understand that. I know when I make a mistake. See, when you make mistakes, you're not listening to your Creator.
Mm-hmm.
Your Creator talks to you all the time. You don't have to talk to the Creator. You don't have to say anything to the Creator. The Creator already knows. Well, you're not informing the Creator of nothing. Creator is well informed. My Creator, according to logic. Now, that's the way I see it. I don't write letters to my Creator. My Creator instructs me about what to do and what not to do. And when I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, including to sit down to eat the type of food that I'm going to eat. The Creator knows what I'm doing. And if I know what I'm doing, and I know that what I'm doing is incompatible with getting a constructive result from what I am eating, I'm actually showing a form of childish rebellion against whatever created me. Why? Because my body has to have nutrition. And my Creator is watching me eat something that's not nutritious for my body.
Yes, sir.
And the Creator is telling me, now, Fuller, you know you might get a stomach ache, because that's what I'm going to give to you as a little notice that you got to go and grab some medicine out of some drugstore somewhere, when you could have avoided this in the first place. Well, you're not using the time and energy that I gave you the way you should be doing it, and I'm putting you on notice by doing you a little bit of harm.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the Creator talking to me.
Yes, sir.
That's the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't have to go through anybody to talk to the Creator, because the Creator is talking to me all the time. That's the way I see it.
Okay.
I don't need a third party.
All righty. Well, we thank you for the answer. We thank you very, very, very much. Okay. We have come to the conclusion of the first hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Still learning. And if you have to go, sorry to see you have to go, because this is a very interesting program, a lot of information. But don't forget that you can get the information by going to producejustice.com. And don't forget that Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show tomorrow, the 25th of April, from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m., and it is on our website at producejustice.com, as well as all the books and materials that you can get by going to producejustice.com. Now, for those who have to go, hopefully we'll see you next week. But for those who are going to be around, as I said in my terrestrial radio days, stick and stay, don't go away. We have one more hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller coming up. And, see, my little clock is running here since about 20 seconds. So because we have 20 seconds, Mr. Fuller, before we go to the second hour, I'm going to give you the last 20 seconds. Go, Mr. Fuller. Hello?
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 Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
My
Here
last
we go,
word.
the usual suspects.
Constructive result.
Okay, let's do this. Thank you for listening. Okay, I cannot hear anybody right now, so I'm going to go on as if it's going on. Welcome to the second hour of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. Now, to get in contact with today's show, all you have to do is go to, dial this number, 516-453-9921. Make sure you press the number 1 button so that you can be heard. You can also make a brief comment and ask a question to Mr. Fuller. You can also join the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com, and you want to click on programs. And when you do that, the Produce Justice Show will be on the menu. You just click on that, and you are in the chat room. And lastly, if you have a question, that you can Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B, at 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com. You can do that, and hopefully at some point in time your question will be read. Okay, and announcement here. I just made it last hour. I'll do it again. Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show tomorrow, the 25th of April, 2023, from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m., and you can get it by going to producejustice.com. Okay. Now, I'm having a problem here hearing you. Let's see here. Mr. Fuller, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Well, you can hear me. That's good. Okay, let's do this. Let's go to the phone lines as our usual suspects are doing their thing. All right, Tess, get ready. We're going to go into New York, and here we go. Tess, wait a minute. Okay, Tess, you are on. Okay, Tess, good morning.
Good morning. This is a quote from the main character, Nemo, of a movie titled Inside from 2023. I lived in your place only a short time. For you, it was a home. For me, it was a cage. I'm sorry if I destroyed it, but maybe it needed to be destroyed. After all, there's no creation without destruction. White supremacists arranged this planet to be a home for white people and a cage for non-white people. Mr. Fuller, this is my question. Is it possible to replace the system of white supremacy with a system of justice without any creation or destruction?
Yes, you're creating a system of justice, or producing it, rather. I don't use the word creation except from a person that can make something, or a force that can make something out of nothing. And that's usually what we call God, Allah, the Great One, the Great Spirit, etc., different names for what the code calls a creator or the creator. And so, yes, you destroy the system of white supremacy and replace it with a better system, and that would be the system of justice. The system of justice means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. There is no record of that ever having been done among the people of the known universe. There's never been a time when nobody was being mistreated, as far as recorded history is concerned. I don't know about the history that's unrecorded, but recorded history, there hasn't been a time, particularly since the beginning of the system of white supremacy, which is designed to mistreat people, and it's designed not to guarantee that people that need help the most get the most constructive help. That's the compensatory definition for the word justice, by the way, one that I made up. So we'll be clear about that. You won't find that definition in the average encyclopedia or dictionary in the English language or any other language, I don't think. Because I made that one up. That's in my textbook.
Yes, sir.
My word guide, that particular definition. And I made it up because it's a compensatory definition, meaning making up for what's missing. All other definitions for justice didn't make sense to me. So I made that one up. Make that clear right now to everybody who's listening. You won't find that definition in any other dictionary other than the word guide that I produced. And I think it's accurate. I don't think one will ever be made better than that. And if it is, I'll adopt it.
Okay. All righty. Moving right along. Let's see here. Thank you, Tess, for your question. Let's see here. This is from Divitude. Says this, Mr. Fuller, what is it about white people that make black people unable to tell the truth about them? I've noticed that black people will start lying just to protect white people who are clearly guilty of practicing racism.
And why do black people do that?
Yes, start lying to protect white people, what she's saying.
Well, then you just look for the truth. I don't know why they do it, but through asking questions about what they are saying. And what does the code say? All problems without exception are solved through the process of questions and answers. So you don't accuse the black person of lying. What you do is just simply ask questions about what they're saying. And if it's a lie, it'll come out. Questions and answers. That's how all problems are solved. Questions and answers. All you got to do is just keep asking questions. Do not limit your questions. That's one thing that too many people are taught. You've heard people use the expression, you're asking too many questions. There's no such thing as too many questions. Until when? Until all questions are answered. That's all questions. Every question that can possibly be asked has to be asked and answered. Then you can say that anything beyond that, according to logic, is too many questions. Why? Because all the questions have been answered. All of them. Every question that was ever asked about anything. Where's the fork in the road? How many jelly beans in a cup? All the questions and answers. That's when you're educated. That's when you know. When you know everything that should be known, that can be known. You know it. You know how many stars is in every universe. And there are billions of universes, so I understand. Billions. How many stars in that universe that you never heard of? Can you answer that instantly? I know I can't. All other questions I can't answer. I don't know what every street sign is and what it says in Dayton, Ohio. Somebody asked me that, I don't know. So, Fuller, you don't know everything, right? If you're going to tell the truth. You know, I'm a long ways from that.
Okay. And it's okay to say, I don't know.
Oh, it's the best thing. I think Mark Twain, I read an Air Force manual once, and it started off with that quote. Mark Twain said this, He said, I was proud to be able to answer promptly. And I did. I said I didn't know.
Okay.
If you don't know, that's the best thing in the world to say. That's how you learn. When you go to school, you say, I'm going to school this fall. Well, what are you doing? Admitting that you're ignorant. The first step toward getting knowledge is to admit that you don't know. Ignorance just means you don't know. That doesn't mean that you're insane or anything like that. It just means you don't know. So that you're not ashamed of not knowing. Like that old sergeant that I sometimes talk about. He said, Fuller, never be ashamed of what you don't know. Be ashamed of not trying like hell to find out. That stuck with me.
I like that Sarge so much. He reminds me of my dad. I have a special affinity for anybody that's been in the military under that type of discipline, and that's why I ask questions about the Sarge. And then people also want to know about that Sarge, but anyway, that's a personal thing. Okay, new caller alert. Sheila, get ready. New York City. Wait a minute, Sheila. Let me see if I can get you on here. Okay, Sheila, you are on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning, and what is your question?
Good morning. I have a question, Mr. Fuller. Do you think that it's possible that the white supremacists are organized themselves to put black people around the world again in bondage, in captivity?
That the white supremacists organize themselves to dominate black people? Is that the question?
Yes, to put us in captivity again, because they dominate us, but to put us in captivity again.
To capture them and dominate them.
Yes.
Did they organize themselves in order to do that?
Yes, again. To
Is
put
that what
us
you're
in
saying?
enslavement again. Yes.
Yes. I call it codified, meaning they found out what's the best way to go about dominating people. They asked themselves that question somewhere along the way. And like I said, once you ask a question, the answers start coming toward the source of the question. So they figured that out. And they kept doing it, and they're doing it now. They burn midnight oil trying to say, how can we maintain domination over these dark people all over the world and have each individual know what that code is, what the white code is, which they well know. The white people who practice, not talking about all white people, but those who practice white supremacy, if you work at something, you become smart at what you're working at. That's if you're fixing a car or sewing a shirt. The more you do it, the better you become at it. They made up their minds that they were going to dominate and mistreat people of color in all 9 areas of activity and everything that people do. Look at black people and say, now, how can we control their time and energy? So they worked on that. Economics, first area of activity. They say, now, how can we control their education? So black people don't consider themselves educated until they've talked to a whole bunch of white people, directly and indirectly. We don't even think we can learn. Which way did the white people go? I got to get me an education. Well, they're the only ones that know anything, so I got to find out where they are. I got to leave my little village and whatnot and look up some white people and educate me, please, massa. And then you move to entertainment. Now, we know how to entertain ourselves, but the white supremacists came around and say, now, they are entertaining themselves constructively. In fact, they enjoy getting out there and doing some constructive work. Now, we got to have them entertain themselves by killing each other. So we'll dominate the entertainment. We'll make their songs all about killing. We'll sneak that one in on them. We'll let them enjoy. They don't think that they're being entertained if they're not cussing and killing and doing something non-constructive. So we'll make black people's entertainment all be non-constructive. They can't even have a party without some killing and doing things that are destructive and thinking that they're doing something great. You know, somebody got to, well, where's the drugs? You can't have a party without drugs. So we'll have something that'll make me stoned. And then I'll write a song about how I got stoned last night. I mean, my head got bad. We even got slangs for it. And see, in answer to your question, oh yeah, they figured out. You know, in order to figure people out, you study them first. I mean, you know, so the white people who decided on being white supremacists, they studied everything about black people. They learned how black people think, and even to this day they do that. They let black people run their mouths, and they just sit and listen. They say, oh, that's what they think about this. Oh, that's what they think about how to spend money. Oh, that's how they think about having entertainment. Oh, they think about their religion is about this, that, and the other. Well, I'm going to change all that so that they will be serving me in every move that they make. Because I'm going to study them first. They're not studying me. They're busy doing their own thing. All right? Well, I'm going to have them doing my thing in everything that they do, and I'm going to be so slick with it, they're going to think that they brought it up, that they invented it. So they were getting along with each other, you know, until I got into their business. I got them killing each other and enjoying it. They run down the street, ha, ha, ha. Look what I did to my classmates. But see, here's what. The system of white supremacy is so evil. Like anything evil, it spreads back on the evildoer.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of evil.
Mm-hmm.
So they do a whole lot to themselves of what they put on somebody else. But they don't mind that because they do the percentages. Are we harming them more than we are harming ourselves? And as long as we can keep it that way, just let the whole world be dominated by pure evil. And the system of white supremacy is pure evil. Evil at its best.
Yes, sir. All righty. Sheila, new caller. Do not be a stranger to this program. We thank you very much for your call. Okay, let me see here. Who's up here? Okay, let's see here. See, we got them. Okay, wait a minute. Just bear in mind with me because our usual suspects are definitely in play. Sometimes when you're speaking, Mr. Fuller, it's not you, it's them. You're actually sometimes cut off. So I have to wait until it kicks back in, but we're back in right now. Okay, let's go down to Texas. And Delbert, get ready, Delbert. Get ready. Let me see if I can click you in without controversy. Okay, Delbert, you're in with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. I have a VGQ, and my VGQ is why do white people, what do white people talk about when black people are not around? And I'm thinking about McCurtain County, Oklahoma, and what happened to Don Lemon. And my other comment, Mr. Bobby, is I'm from Center, Texas, and that's where Lidge Daniels was lynched. And I've had that book for over 20 years, Without Sanctuary. And
okay.
I understand why Mr. Allen wrote the book. That he was found out to be gay by his father, and his father put him out of the house. And he made a living collecting antiques and going to estate sales, and that's where he began collecting those postcards. And he later published all of those postcards in the pictorial Without Sanctuary.
Okay. Now, what was your first question? What do white people talk about behind black people's backs, or was that it, something like that? Okay.
Yes, like the officials in Oklahoma,
okay.
John Lemon's management.
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
Well, they talk about whatever they talk about. And many white people, when I've heard about that question being asked, many white people, from what I've heard, because I'm not around white people when they're sitting around the dinner table and all like that, but people who have looked into it, and white people, I've heard white people ask that question, who have been asked that question, respond by saying, "Oh, we don't talk about black people. Black people think we stood up talking about them. No, that's not what we talk about around the dinner table." And they may be telling the truth, or they may not be. I don't know, because I don't sit around with white people, talking to white people that much. When I guess I can, the only time I interact with white people is in a business setting, when I stop to think about it, really, or just in passing, like, in the airport or something like that. It's flight 27. Is that at gate 4 or 6? Just that type of conversation. Otherwise, I don't think most black people have what you might call long conversations, the average black person, with white people about anything except on the job.
Mm-hmm.
Something connected with the job. Because that's the only time that white people even seek to interact with black people on a one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's why white people and black people kind of separate from each other when it comes dinner time and all like that on the job. They go to separate tables for the most part, unless they directly work together, in which case they'll be talking about the work. And just throw in a few jokes in between, to kind of loosen things up. But that's been my observation. But when I think about my actual experiences, I haven't had what you might call real long conversations with any white person, ever.
Yes, sir. Okay.
When I think about it and I've been on this planet quite a while, I haven't had what you call, I can probably count what you call long conversations with a white person about anything.
About anything?
Those white people don't choose to talk to me.
You can. I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in one of the conversations on a radio program that you and I were doing, I believe you were giving a speech, and two gentlemen, I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, two gentlemen rushed down an aisle to confront you. Do you remember that incident?
Yes, in New York City.
Okay.
I mean,
were these gentlemen white?
Yes, there was two of them, and they rushed down the aisle and say, "You are homophobic," one of them shouted out. And the place was crowded, mostly with white people. And I looked up, because I wasn't expecting that. But the code says be ready for anything. So in the compensatory fashion, I followed the code. I said, well, come forward, sir. And right in the middle of my sentence, they ran right back out of the place. They ran out of the place, not only out of the room. They left the building, I think, but they definitely got out of that room before I could respond. They just came down, and one of them shouted, "You are homophobic." And then, according to the code, I was going to have them, because that's the codified procedure that I use, have the person who is opposing whatever it is you're saying, or seems like they're opposing it, have them come forward, make their case. And I was all ready to do that.
And they ran out the room?
They ran out of the room before I could even respond. I wanted them to come down. I beckoned for them, and I said, oh, okay, I'm homophobic. Come down and make your case. That's a charge, all right? You're making that charge against me, Neely Fuller. I'm homophobic. Come down and make your case, because then I'm going to go through the whole ritual that the code requires me to do. That's what I'm saying by being codified.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I wasn't going to argue or anything like that. Just make your case. Make your case. I'll go with whatever case you come up with if it's what produces a constructive result, if it makes sense. Okay? If you explain what that sounded like they were making a charge to me. And so I just go into the question thing. All problems are solved through the questions and answers. First of all, what do you mean by that? Give me a definition for what you're talking about. I probably have 1,000 questions. Or as many questions as it takes to come up with the most constructive answers.
Right. Since they made the charge against you.
Yes, they made a charge, that's all. And then they ran out.
Okay.
And one time, on another occasion, it was a black person that stood up and in a very strong voice said, "You are misleading the people." I said, "Sir, come forward, if you don't mind." And I went and sat down.
Okay.
And I said, "Okay, tell this audience how I am doing what you just said, and say what you have to say about it." And so he talked for about 5 minutes, and the audience themselves said, "Okay, we've heard enough, brother. All right, okay, we want to hear what Mr. Fuller has to say."
Yes, sir. Okay.
So he obeyed the audience, and I went back, and I didn't even comment on what he said. He started talking about something, went, took the pointer and started writing something on the board. But the audience itself said, "Okay, they've heard enough."
Yeah.
Because they wanted to hear me. See, I didn't ask a lot. 4 or 5 people jumped up with the intention of putting him out. "Hey, brother, you interrupting. You interrupting. You're not showing respect." No, I don't do that. I say, you're saying that I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing? Well, you may be correct. So you come down and make your case. That's the codified procedure.
Yes, sir.
The procedure I have adopted.
Yes,
and
sir.
I'm rigid about that. Oh, you got something to say that's going to be better than what I'm saying? Well, we always want the best. Because if I sit here and listen to you, and you're saying something better than what I am saying, that's what this audience should hear.
Yes, sir.
See, it ain't personal. It's business.
It's business. Okay. All right. I just thought I would point out because we have done several shows, and I remember those 2 gentlemen who you said made a charge against you but ran out before you had a chance to address that. And this is my first time hearing about this black fellow that did that, and they got him, they were tired of hearing it. They wanted to speak to you. Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Fuller. And thank you, Delbert. Okay, let's do this. You are listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. here on the 25th of April, 2023. We thank you for listening. To get in contact with the show, you know the numbers, but I'll give them to you anyway. Call this number, 516-453-9921, and a question or a brief comment, because time is running short. Just press the number 1 button and give your name to the call screener so we can get you on, and we can do our thing from there. You could also Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. More than likely, your question will not be read today, but on an upcoming program, it will be read. I'll send you a symbol and get all that for you. And lastly, you can get into the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com. You want to make sure that you click on programs, and then once you programs, there's a menu up there, and you want to get the Produce Justice Show. Produce Justice Show. Click on that, and then you can see where you're able to get into the chat room, and you can go from there. Also, keep in mind that on tomorrow, everybody says tomorrow, which is what, Wednesday? According to the Julian calendar, I believe it is. Wednesday, April the 25th, 2023, Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. And Produce Justice has fixed up a situation. Thank you, Robert, Sharon, Moonpie, or whoever did that, so that all you have to do is click on producejustice.com at that time, and you can pick up the interview that Carl Nelson will share or hold with Mr. Fuller. That's tomorrow, the 25th of April, 2023, from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. on the Carl Nelson Show. Mr. Fuller will be on there. Okay. Somebody asked me about that book that we've been talking about. It's called Without Sanctuary. If you haven't read it, you may want to get that. It's very, very disturbing, but it gives a pictorial history of some of the things that happened. It's documented. It ain't no mites. This stuff happens. Some of it you know about, but most of it you don't know about. But you may want to get that. But of those 4 books, don't forget the Mr. Fuller's book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. That book, suggestion to have in your library. The book by one of the books by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, the ISIS Papers. Yeah. Excuse me. Thank you, Be Good One. It's the 26th. Thank you for Mr. Fuller will be on the 26th. Thank you, Be Good One. Man, I messed that up, but I got it corrected. Thank you for the correction. Still learning. Okay. The other book is by Chancellor Williams called The Destruction of the Black Civilization, and by Chancellor Williams, and Without Sanctuary by James Allen. Let me get it straight now. Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show tomorrow, Wednesday, the 26th of April, 2023. Thank you very much, Be Good One. Yeah, you got me together. Still learning. All right. All righty, still learning, and let's go to still learning to the phone lines. And we have here in Wheaton, Illinois, it just says AP. Okay, AP, let's see if we can get you in here. Okay, AP, the 26th. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, you're on with Mr. Fuller.
Okay. God, I've been waiting for a while, but it's the sacrifice. I would like to make an observation and a VGQ, and then I have a question for Neely Fuller, if I may.
You need to cut your radio down because we're in a vibration.
Okay, yes, you're right. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead, please, sir.
Okay, sorry about that. Mr. Fuller, in listening to your thoughts this morning, I couldn't help but think about the same thing because I constantly see it on the news about the murder rate and the killings, the mass killings that are happening that are very common nowadays, and it's a real problem. I've also surmised that they don't want to solve this problem of mass killings, in my opinion, because it's a form of depopulation and genocide, and they don't mind some of the casualties that come along with losing some whites that kill each other. in your definition, refinement stages of deception on murder or mass killings in the stages of white supremacy. So it's just something that I've recognized and noticed. And the other thing is if racism, white supremacy, or supremacists don't treat you right, they won't teach you right. And that's a famous quote coming from the Nation of Islam that I've heard of a lot. And this book, Without Sanctuary, I have that book, a very disturbing, heart-wrenching type of book to read. And there's another one I'd like to suggest to the public to get is The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. This is one of the reasons why CRT, the theory is under attack. They want to be able to hide that history and the mistreatment of black people so that we won't know. And you can see these examples in the governors of the state of Florida in DeSantis. You can see this in the governor of Texas, and you can see this also in the governor and the recent those two senators, those two young black senators that were expelled in Tennessee.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can see the example of that happening, and that's the real problem. So, in my opinion, there's always been the question as to why, if white people have a problem with black people, then why won't they allow us, get out of our way, and allow us to fend for ourselves and not be in our business? But they don't want to do that. And that woman who asked the question earlier, is it a worldwide system of what we're kind of seeing? Does the whole system want to really put black people in bondage again? Something to think about and be mindful of. That's the whole system of racism, white supremacy that you talk about, Mr. Lilly Fuller. Now, one of the questions that I have for you is in the area of sex and politics. And it's a real problem and real confusion that's up against now with the transgender inclusion in sports. With transgender must mean that the male-born people want to compete against women. And I have a problem with that because that's an unfair advantage for the transgender person competing against women. If they wanted to compete, then why aren't they competing against men? I think the solution should be, and no one has talked about this, and I would like to, and wonder why white supremacists don't talk about this as a solution. If transgender people want to be transgender and they want to compete, then why don't they set up a league like they do the National Football League and all these other professional sports and have transgender people compete against each other instead of, you see what I mean?
AP,
so I would like to know if you would make a comment about that.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, AP, but I was just told that we need to hurry you along because we have a long list of calls.
Okay, my question is this then, Mr. Bobby, is
yes, sir.
Can Mr. Fuller comment on what he sees in that confusion, which you've already talked about transgender and sex and politics, that confusion that's created?
Okay,
thank you very much.
So much. Mr. Fuller?
Yes, I'll try to broad brush it briefly. Whatever the white supremacists do in any of the 9 areas of activity, it is to make the system of white supremacists stronger. So the white supremacists in the area of sex, the 9 areas, have said sex is very powerful. So we have to have absolute control over everything that people of color do or even think about doing in the area of sex. And by having control, we mean confuse them. Anything that's dealing with sex, cause as much confusion as you possibly can. Doesn't make any difference how you do it or what form it takes. I mean, we can work out those details easily. But as long as you have mass confusion in everything that's sexual, if it's something in economics, mass confusion So that black people don't know which way to use their time and energy and whatnot, or money, or anything, in all the areas of activity, but particularly in the area of sex. And then the next thing, the seventh area of activity, next to the eighth, religion. Confuse them. Keep them confused in those two areas, in particular. Right down to every turn of the knob, you might say. It causes as much confusion as you possibly can. And they say, well, what kind of confusion? Any kind of confusion. Everything that you can possibly think of. Think of it, and put it out there, run tests on it, see if it'll fly. And you definitely have to do this in the area of sex, or you should do it. The white supremacists figured this out a long time ago, because if you can control a person's mind in the area of sex, you can control them in all the other areas with ease. Sex is extremely powerful, and if you can mess up a black person's mind in the area of sex, you got them. You got them in religion. You got them in war. You got them in politics. You have actually crucified them in every way that you possibly can. That's the easiest route to go. Find out where they are mentally in a sexual way and get control of it. And then steer it all over the place. Any kind of nonsense you can come up with, dump it on black people. It's much garbage sex. You can put that under that umbrella and stick with it and make it look beautiful. Paint it all up. Strut it around. Put pretty colors on it. And put that label on it that this is the best sex that ever was. That all that other stuff is archaic, out of style. Come up with these new forms. That's what you black people need more than you need anything. You need a new form of sex. And as many different forms as you can possibly think of. And I will help you do it, bankroll it to the nth degree, put every black person who is on the fence about it, give them all kinds of money and have them satisfied with just coming up with as many forms of sex as you possibly can. Help us to do it. It'll help you black people more than anything else will ever help you. This is what Harriet Tubman died for. This is what all the people, Martin Luther King, all of them, this is what they died for. You black people need new forms of sex. You need to stop being so backward.
Yes,
okay?
Sir. Yes,
so that's
sir.
what they're doing. In a nutshell, if I can put it out there just that way. And they don't care how they do it or which way it goes.
Yes.
And then we'll control it. Because then we'll control everything else. Real easy.
Real easy.
Sex is very powerful.
Yes,
if you can control a person sexually, you can control them in every other thing that you mentioned.
Yes.
Broadcasting, whatever.
I know you are correct because I was speaking with a young lady yesterday, and she told me about a lady that caught a venereal disease from having sexual intercourse with a dog. So, yeah, you are right on it. Wow. Leona.
Dog lovers, step forward. Love, that's what's wrong with the world. We don't have enough love. So you love your dog, don't you? Well, express it. You got to have a way of expressing that love. Just buying dog food ain't enough.
Yeah.
See, the white supremacists know what they're doing, boy, and are they good at it. And we have fallen for it hook, line, and sinker. Go for the professors first. That's what they'll tell you.
Okay. Wow. Leona, we're going to get you in here from the Midwest. Go ahead, Lee. Wait a minute. Okay, come on. There we go. Leona, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Greetings, Mr. Bobby. Greetings, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, recently I was forced by the white supremacist system to move to a new residence, okay? And in the course of that process, I came across a book order form for the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept and also for the Counter Racist Word Guide. Now, on this book order form paper, it says here that well, it was requesting email addresses, okay? And it says for future online mailings of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept newsletter. Now, this book order form I think is kind of old, but my question is, did you ever? Are you still considering doing a newsletter for the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept? Are you still considering doing that? That's one question.
I never considered doing it at all.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, oh dear. Well, maybe this form I have.
I don't have any connection with that.
Oh my. Oh.
Go to producejustice.com. That's why I got my own podcast. Lots of people are doing all kinds of things. I don't know what people are doing. But I suspect the white supremacists have their own agenda about what to do about Neely Fuller. Mostly what I've gotten from the white supremacists directly is zero. I mean, my name is not supposed to be mentioned, or my book is not supposed to be mentioned, or anything that I'm doing is silent. Even when I talk to white people talk to me, really. I mean, come to the seminars when I was out there doing the seminars, they would just come up and say, what you say is very interesting. But while they were sitting there, they never challenged me from the audience, even when I asked people that they have any kind of disagreement with anything that I was saying. A lot of black people would get up and, the place would be smoking sometimes. But no white person ever has done that except the incident that happened in New York when the two white people ran down the aisle coming toward me and said, one of them shouted, "You are homophobic." And then before I could utter a word, because I started beckoning them to come further, come up on the stand, take the mic, make your case. That's the codified procedure. But they ran out of the place fast before I could respond. So, white people just don't, for some, all down through the years, I haven't heard a white person mention the book or my name and whatnot. And even when other people, black people, have been on programs, TV programs, and mentioned my name or the book, they'd comment on everybody else. They would make no comment on nothing that I'm doing at all, period. That's been consistent everywhere. And I wondered about it. And I came to the conclusion, I must be on to something.
You are. What's your second question?
Well, Mr. Fuller, listen, I know part of the code is to not accumulate a lot of stuff because you have to move it. I'm curious, what kind of things do you do to not accumulate a lot of stuff? And by the way, Mr. Fuller...
Don't accumulate a lot of stuff. That's it. Don't bring it in. Don't bring it in. You bring it in, you're going to have to find a place for it. See, so what you're actually doing, you're paying house notes or rent on a whole lot of stuff that's just taking up that precious space. I went to a place, a lady just bought a house many decades ago, and she was showing me around in her house. And when she got to one room, she said, I kind of keep this room sealed off because it's kind of embarrassing because there's nothing in it. And I said, you hold on to that room being empty as long as you can. That was my codified advice. I said, because you've just moved into a new house and you're embarrassed about a room being empty. I said, hold on that philosophy and keep that room as empty as you can for as long as you can. I said, because you're going to be looking for space of stuff that you're going to bring in here and you're going to be trying to find space for it. And I say that applies even today. Don't try to fill up space. Don't think that where you are, whether it's an apartment or a house, is too empty. No. No, do just the reverse. Try to keep it as empty as you possibly can. You don't need all that stuff, even though you think you do. You got stuff. You go into that closet, and I've heard many a person say that about garages and everything else.
Yes, sir.
Say, when did I get this? When did anybody ever get this? Why would anybody ever get anything like this? I didn't know I had this. You'll know you had it when you get ready to move it, because those movers, they thrive on you accumulating stuff. And they know you got to move. So you're breaking yourself, really. You're weighting yourself down. I mean, be able to move, with one truck forward.
Wow.
If you can. If you can. Stop accumulating. Stop it.
Okay, Rita.
All these Friday sales and all like that. Hey, I ain't going nowhere. You know, I ain't bringing not another item in here. Anytime I bring something in, I'm taking something out. I'm gonna give it as a gift to somebody. Because when you have to move, then what do you do? All that stuff that you bought, that you worked hard for, working overtime to get it, you wind up throwing it in the trash because you couldn't give it away in time. Stop and think about it. Stop accumulating stuff. And that's stuff in yourself, too. I was thinking about that this morning. Your basic house is your body. Think about that. That's one thing you can leave this program with today. Your basic house is your body. Don't stuff that either. So you're going to have to move that. First place you're going to move it is where? A hospital ward. Because you're overstuffed. So you do to your house and your apartment exactly what you do to your body. Your body is your basic house. Don't stuff that body with stuff that the body doesn't know what to do with. Okay. So the body just piles it up and piles it up and piles it up. It tries to get rid of it, but you're stuffing it so fast with so much stuff that the body is receiving this stuff and saying, I'm not even made for this. All this sugar, all this starch. What am I going to do with all this stuff? So I just stuff it. That's what your body does. Stuff your body gets a signal from you. Well, since I can't process it, it ain't nothing that I'm supposed to be receiving. Missent address, but it's artificial food that they give me. It ain't food. It's not nourishing. So I'll just stuff it over here in this corner. This corner meaning your belly to start with, then your hip, then down in your legs. Next thing you know, you can't move at all. You talk about moving out of your house or out of your apartment, you can't move because you're mistreating your body. And you're mistreating the space that you're paying all this rent for, or this huge house note and property taxes. You need leave some space.
Yes, sir.
Particularly in your body.
Oh, okay, Leona. Thank you for your question. Really appreciate that, dear, very much. Okay, Mr. Fuller, Robert has given us a little permission to go over. Now, I have to ask you, because we have some callers on the line, is it all right with you that we extend it just a little bit, not very long, but just a little bit, so that we can get the callers in?
Okay.
Okay. All right, Robert, you heard that. We have permission. Okay, now, everybody that's on the line, we're going to try to get you in, so make your questions short and sweet so Mr. Fuller can answer so we can get you in. Let's go to Terrence from Tennessee. Terrence, you're there with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. I'll try to get right to it. I was just looking at things, and I was thinking about evolving or evolution versus revolving, going in a circle. And it seems to me that the supremacists evolve. They refine and they innovate, and whereas we kind of keep revolving in a circle. This is my VGQ. Keep revolving in a circle, whereas they refine things. When I lived in Columbus, I worked for the city attorney's office, and each month they would give the police officers a bulletin that showed them where cases that the city lost based on their behavior, and they would coach them on what they could have done to kind of subvert the laws and make a illegal arrest, but give the city enough room where they could kind of get them off the hook. And so my question to you, that's my VGQ, but my question to you, Mr. Fuller, is what ways can we evolve? Can we refine ourselves? And so that's my question to you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fuller, quickly. Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Yeah. Problem-solving culture. That's what black people should have. At the end of every day, did I solve a problem and produce a constructive result today? And if I did, what was it?
Mm-hmm.
Suppose black people had that worldwide. I'm saying wherever you find people of color. I'm all about getting up in the morning and going to bed at night, doing nothing but solving problems that produce constructive results. What did I do today that produced a constructive result? Or 10 or 12 constructive results? Anything or nothing. Because if I didn't do nothing that came up with a constructive result and solved a problem or two or three or 24 today, I have wasted the time and energy, which is what I talked about at the beginning of this program, that I came into the world with. I'm wasting time and energy if I didn't do anything that produced a constructive result on this day.
Okay.
And suppose black people adopted that as their culture. That's our whole culture. We don't have a culture other than that. That each and every day we solve a problem or two or 3 dozen problems.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's when you say black person, problem solver. Problem solver, not a problem maker. We don't make problems. We solve problems. That's our culture. We don't have a culture other than that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Terrence from Tennessee. Okay, for the remaining, we're going to try to get you in, but no more VGQ. Just ask your question because we are up against the clock. So, Victor, I'm going to get you in here and go ahead and ask your question. Wait a minute, see if I can get you in here. Okay, Victor from Canada. Go ahead. What's your question, please?
Well, hi, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. My question is, when you're using self-respect according to the code, and then you're combining it with problem solving through logic, how do you set deadlines to accomplish your goal? Because I keep going around in circles.
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
Problems come to you. So just concentrate on what the problems are. Or somebody tells you a problem that they have. That problem that they have could become your problem, either directly or indirectly. Because when your next door neighbor and everybody in your neighborhood has a lot of problems, they might make problems for you. Okay? So problem solving should be black people's culture. We need to get rid of all of the habits that we have, the parties that we have and all that. Just get rid of it. Just stop it. If it doesn't have something connected with problem solving. If people, black people have a gathering and shooting breaks out, okay, do the logic. Start thinking first. Well, it seems like every time we have a party, somebody gets killed. Well, stop having the party. And several people have mentioned this on this program today. See, we keep doing the same things and getting the same results. Like Einstein said. And he said that is the definition of what? Insanity.
Insanity, yes.
And we are labeled the most insane people that the world has ever seen. On account of what we call and brag about. That's another thing. Black culture. Black culture is what you do. And what we are doing is a failure. So we need a new culture.
Yes, sir.
And what would that new culture be? Problem solving.
Problem solving.
And when you look up and see a black person coming, you say, oh, we had a problem. Okay, this problem is most likely going to get solved right now. Because here comes Cecil. Well, who's Cecil? Cecil is black. And just on that alone, Cecil is a problem solver.
He's a problem solver.
That's what black people are known for. We're not known. We used to be known to be the biggest problem makers on the planet. But now, they just made a decision. I ain't about making no problem. I'm about solving them. And how do you solve problems? Questions and answers.
Questions and answers. All right. Thank you, Victor, and from Toronto. Let's go to Youngstown and Talif very quickly. Just questions now. A question, rather. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby, I'm going to make it really, really brief. I haven't been able to call in quite a while. Okay, Mr. Fuller, I got one thing to say. I'm not sure if Mr. Bobby is familiar with this guy. There's a reggae singer. His name is Willie Williams. Now, I'm not going to do the whole song if everybody want to listen. But he says, and I'm breaking it down, he says, a lot of people won't get no supper tonight. And then in another verse, it says a lot of people are going to suffer tonight. And then he says a lot of people won't get no justice tonight. A lot of people are going to have to stand up and fight. To that, you say what, Mr. Fuller? Thank you, and I want to listen in.
Okay.
I just sum it all up by saying problem solved. Black people should walk around thinking about solving problems all day long and solving those problems in a way that produces what? CR, constructive results. Constructive result, truth. Now, how do you get to that truth part of constructive results? Questions and answers.
Mm-hmm.
That's the procedure, because you want to know the procedure. A Fuller just can't stand up there and say solve problems. How do you solve problems? Ask enough questions and you'll be solving problems, because the answers of the nature of the universe is that when you have a question, the nature of the universe somehow, mysteriously, makes the answer to that question that you ask come toward the source of the question.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of the universe. That's why inventors say, I just thought of something. That's how they became inventors. Musicians, same thing. So the question is, logically speaking, where was that answer before you got it? You say you just thought of something. Where was that thought before you got it? It was somewhere. So when you said, I just thought of it, it means it came to you. You didn't go to it because you didn't know where it was.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere out there, the creator of the universe maybe gravitated the answer to that question.
Yes, sir.
When you asked it toward you, because you were the source of the question.
All righty. All right. Thank you, Talif. Last two questions, and that's it. Just question only, a question only. We go to Lee in the Bronx. Lee, Lee, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Good morning. Is it possible to destroy the system of racism and white supremacy by only following the United Independent Compensatory Code system?
All righty. Mr. Fuller?
The United Independent, in my opinion, because it hadn't done it yet, so that's not proven. That's a theory. That's why I call it the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. Concept is a theory that if you do the things, and the basic thing to do is questions and answers, question everything, thousands of questions if necessary, until what? Until you got all the answers. That's what. Okay. So that's what you're going to need. So if you ask enough questions, the answers will eventually come to you if you just keep asking questions. Ask the same questions over and over again. And don't move to the second question, and this is very important, until you get an answer to the first. That's when you're talking to people. Never move to that second question until you get an answer to the first. Neely Fuller gets away with that a lot on this program. You should not let him get away with that. I don't do it deliberately, but I do it.
Yes, sir. Well, we're still learning.
It's a mistake. It's a mistake every time I do it. If I don't give you ask a question, I don't give you the answer to that question, you don't move to the second question. You say, Fuller, you didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
And you've got to do that because the white supremacists pull that one all the time.
All the time.
In fact, they will very shrewdly sound like they're giving you 15 answers to one question when they haven't given you any at all. They're just that good.
You're just that good. Okay. Lee in the Bronx, thank you so much. Last question of the day, Nicole. Ooh, we finally got to you. Here you go. Nicole, last question of the day. Let me see if I can get you in there. Wait a minute. There we go. Yes, there you go, Nicole. Nicole? Huh. Calling Nicole. Got you on here. Got you on the screen. Nope. Okay. Well, I tried to get you, Nicole. We couldn't get you in here. We tried. Okay. Well, Mr. Fuller, thank you for going overtime here. We try to get you to answer all the questions. We thank you for listening. For those who were patient enough to listen, thank you for all the chatters and Gmailers and all. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Don't forget to get the book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, and don't forget that Mr. Fuller will be on the 26th of April, 2023, on the Carl Nelson Show from 8 to 10. That's tomorrow, the Wednesday, the 26th of April, 2023, on the Carl Nelson Show. It's on our website, producejustice.com. Don't forget the books at United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. That's also at producejustice.com. Last word, Mr. Fuller, is to you.
Constructive results. When you get off of this program, start thinking of the next thing that you're going to do is going to produce a constructive result, whatever you got planned.
Okay. All right. We'll try to do better the next time. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Sharon Moon Pie, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.